And so that might suggest that Russia is now experiencing supply problems and is still capable from time to time, of course, of sending a salvo of missiles into Ukraine, but can't do it quite as frequently as it did hitherto. They can be particularly damaging. On the other hand, of course, they carry about the same size of a warhead, so they're not necessarily more destructive when they hit the target vis-a-vis a conventional missile, but it's just that they go so much faster. Russia has been setting great store by the fact that it's developed these Kinzhal hypersonic missiles, but it doesn't have too many, about 24. So it's quite interesting that they've decided now to use up this quite limited stock against Ukraine.
And what does that tell you?
Well, hopefully, it's difficult to know for certain, but hopefully, if they're now resorting to the sort of more state-of-the-art missiles in their arsenal, it suggests that they're running out of the more sort of traditional conventional stuff like cruise missiles and other types of rocket. This could be because, of course, the Western sanctions have made it more difficult for Russia to get the chips and the processors and the advanced electronics to manufacture these missiles. Indeed, this is the first salvo of missiles that Ukraine has borne for nearly a month since mid-February. And so that might suggest that Russia is now experiencing supply problems and is still capable from time to time, of course, of sending a salvo of missiles into Ukraine, but can't do it quite as frequently as it did hitherto.
So tell us then about the possible impact of the activity. It was first thing this morning, wasn't it, on the people in Kyiv? I confess I've slightly not kept up to date, to my shame, with whether people have gone back to Kyiv, whether the people who left originally have still decided to try and make a life somewhere else. What's happening in the city as far as we know?
Well, the city and other Ukrainian cities have proven to be surprisingly robust because when Putin, during the winter, began this almost daily salvo of missile attacks against the Ukrainian cities, civilian targets, obviously the energy grid, the energy transformers, trying to shut down the power, turn off the lights, shut off the water supplies, to make life really miserable for Ukrainians. The assumption was that he was trying to provoke another humanitarian crisis with another 6 million Ukrainians sort of flooding out of the country, as happened after last February when Russia first invaded Ukraine, and therefore creating, of course, a massive problem for European countries having to take in all of these Ukrainian refugees. This time round, it hasn't happened. I mean, the Ukrainians have proven to be rather robust about listening to the air raid sirens, going down into the metro stations, particularly in Kiev, taking shelter, coming back out. There hasn't been that mass exodus, even though, of course, life has been particularly difficult. Also, the ingenuity of the Ukrainian engineers being able to sort of quickly sort of patch up the network and repair it, even if 40% of the transformers have been taken out. So that last week, for example, there were no energy shortages in Ukraine at all, apart from a few hours in Odessa. So by and large, the Ukrainians seem to be, in this second year of war, able and willing to tough it out.
Yes, I don't doubt their robust attitude and their incredible bravery, but nevertheless, Jamie, presumably, you might correct me, Ukrainian lives were lost in that raid this morning.
Six so far. Of course, that's six too many, but it does suggest that again, the air raid sirens are working, and the Ukrainians are taking shelter quickly. The Russians again have been going mainly for the energy grid, transformers, power plants, and those, of course, are sites which, for example, in the middle of the night, don't have lots and lots of people there. So that does help to sort of limit the extent of civilian casualties. But it's clear that the Russians have been pretty indiscriminate also in attacking civilian residences as well. They always say it's by accident, but the number of civilian targets hit suggests that it's a deliberate policy as well. So this is an instrument, if you like, of mass terror rather than mass casualties. So far, also, the Ukrainian air defense, obviously supplied by the United States and Western countries, has proven to be pretty good at shooting down, for example, the drones and the more conventional missiles, so that 80% don't hit the target. And of course, that also helps to prevent casualties as well. But the Kinzhal, as we said at the beginning of this conversation, is hypersonic missile. That's much more difficult to shoot down. So we just have to hope that the Russians don't really have very many left in their quiver and won't be able to keep this up for much longer.
If you enjoyed that, what should people do?
Well, the best thing would be if you could listen to us on Times Radio, Monday to Thursday, 3 till 5, Jane and Fee.